Hey everybody, we are in day 197. Woo! First Chronicles 19 through 21, Proverbs 13, 17 through 35. And we are reading again the story of David. And some of these stories should be very familiar unless you were asleep during the Kings. And so the theme is not going to be surprising. We'll get to it in a minute. But let me remind you that Chronicles, unlike Samuel and King, were not written to the people in exile, but this is written to people who had come back post-exile Israel to encourage them to build the temple, to come back to the Lord, to remind them of God's promise, and to help them to look forward to the coming Messiah, the perfect King, Jesus, who would later come. And now we know that he has come. So First Chronicles 19 is sort of some of the reiteration of the wars that... So there's first the story of the disgrace that the Ammonites did against David's men, and that led to a fight there that David won, and you move forward. I thought one of the great verses in our reading was in chapter 19, verse 13, and I think it's a motto for our life, really. It should be something that we can hang on to, a life verse if you want. And I know it's odd from First Chronicles 19:13, but it says, "Be strong, and let us use our strength for our people and for the cities of our God. And may the Lord do what seems good to him." And I think it summarizes the church and life as Christians. And we have to have a purpose. And it shouldn't be about us. It should be about the people of God. And so our strength, we have to be strong and focused. But then there's this huge element, which is let God do what he can do. It's like if you're a student studying for finals, you do your part, but then God has to help you with that last bit, or et cetera, et cetera. And so they end up winning the war, of course. And then chapter 20 is peculiar because there's a mention of David staying at Jerusalem. Now we know from 2 Samuel that was his worst decision in his kingdom. And he ended up, of course, having the affair with Bathsheba. It's not mentioned here. Maybe it's because the highlight of the book was not to remind them of their punishment, but to give them hope of what God was doing on their behalf, even as they came back from exiles. And so Philistine giants are killed in the second half of chapter 20. These are people with 6 toes and 6 fingers. Kind of scared me just reading about them. And then chapter 21, Satan stands against Israel and incites David to number Israel, again, reminiscent of Job, and how sometimes Satan will push us towards, with God's permission, will incite us, will move us to do some things. Again, you can't blame Satan. At the end of the day, David had to take the punishment for the sin, and he chooses God's mercy, which is really the big idea today, is that God's mercy for me is great, even when the consequences of my sin or for my sin are justified. Basically, we all deserve death. And while David could not redeem the people, Jesus did. And while David was not a perfect king, Jesus is. And so David recognizes that, and he's a man of faith. He recognizes that he's not the answer to Israel, that there is one who's coming. And so he worships the Lord, and his approach to this justified punishment is that he repents, he builds an altar to God, and God is pleased with that altar. I love this man, David. He wasn't perfect, but certainly was a man after God's own heart. So what did you love about the reading today? Maybe reflect on this verse, 1 Chronicles 19:13. "Be strong. Let us use our strength for our people, and may the Lord do what seems good." Love you guys.